Can I opt out of providing the accommodations listed on the IEPR document if I feel the student doesn't need them?
Only at your own peril. In the case of Doe versus Withers, a student with a learning disability got $15,000 from an individual history teacher who refused to implement the IEP as it was clearly stated. He would not let the student take an untimed test or do his test orally because he said that's not fair. Well, it was fair enough because when the student sued, the teacher had to pay.
The court case of Doe versus Withers is definitely a noteworthy case for all educators. Before I get into too much detail, let's step back and look at the basics. John and Jane Doe are the parents of Douglas Doe, or D.D. Their identities are withheld due to the embarrassment caused to the student. D.D. went to Grafton High School in Taylor County, West Virginia, and was diagnosed with a learning disability when he was in fourth grade. His IEP iterated that he needed written tests read aloud to him, allowed more time to take tests, and offered the resource room as a place to take the tests. Dee found success with this accommodation, and most teachers had no problem making the switch. That is, until he was enrolled in Michael Withers' history teacher at Grafton's class. Withers refused to accommodate to Dee's IEP, saying it was unfair and unnecessary. After many failed tests due to the lack of accommodations, many teachers and administrators tried to reach out to Withers. The special ed teacher and director, the principal, and the superintendent asked Withers many times to please follow the IEP's instructions. Jane and John Doe even met with him during conferences to ask as well. Withers still failed to comply. D.D. failed 9 tests and this course in the fall of 1990. D.D. retook the course per school policy. Withers took a leave of absence for Charleston, West Virginia, where he was in the state legislature. During this absence, Withers was replaced with a substitute. This substitute saw D.D.'s IEP and followed it to a T, allowing more time on tests and them to be taken orally. After these changes, the plaintiff's grades dramatically improved in this class. Because of the outcome, John and Jane Doe decided to take legal action against Michael Withers. The Doe family received $15,000 from Michael Withers because of his lack of compliance. They wanted even more to cover legal fees and emotional disturbance to their child. Either way, Withers was found guilty. Doe v. Withers was the first time parents took legal action when a teacher was not following an IEP. It is a landmark case and extremely significant because it shows us, as future educators and potential parents, the importance of complying with legal documents. So, did the court get this one right or wrong? Do you agree or disagree? I definitely agree with the outcome of this case. Michael Withers' only reason of why he did not wish to accommodate D.D. was because he felt it was unfair. But according to Richard Lavoie,
Fair is not equal. Fair does not mean treating everyone the same. Rather, it means giving everyone what they need to be successful.
Lavoie's definition of fairness is how all educators should envision it. D.D. was already at a disadvantage in his class because of his learning disability, which he had no control of. Michael Withers continued to leave him at this disadvantage because he did not see how this put D.D. at an even playing field rather than an uneven one. So how does this affect you? Let's say you just accepted a job as a high school English teacher. Congratulations! Because you are an overachiever and want to get involved right away, you also are the assistant coach for the track team and head of the National Honor Society. You definitely have a lot on your plate, especially for a first year teacher, but you're still managing. So far, so good. Meet Tommy. Tommy is a soft spoken sophomore student who does pretty well in most of his classes. He is in your second period sophomore English class. Tommy has a visual impairment and has an IEP that states he must have notes and written tests printed in an enlarged format so they are easily readable. Tests may also be read orally. Given all the extra things you have taken on, you are an extremely busy person. The first test comes around. You create it, distribute it, and grade it in a fairly timely fashion. You're pretty proud of yourself. However, Ms. Smith, the special ed teacher, calls you the next week to discuss Tommy's grade. You think to yourself, oh no, I completely forgot to create the accommodations for Tommy. You feel horrible and explain everything you're doing to Miss Smith. She understands but is very stern, telling you it cannot happen again. It's against the law. You guarantee it will not. 3 weeks later, it's time for another test. The track team made it to state, and National Honor Society initiation is just around the corner. Why did you schedule a test right now? You stay up late for 2 nights to get it done. It's complete and looking good. You administer the test, grade it, and hand it back within a week this time. Still pretty happy with yourself. 3 days later, you hear from Miss Smith. She wants to talk about Tommy. Again. This time, she is not so understanding, even after you explain. You tell yourself that you cannot forget it again, and even write a note. Track season will be over by then, so things will be easier when the next test comes along. Another 3 weeks goes by. Track season is over, but your sister's wedding is this weekend. You've been planning for weeks, and you cannot believe it's finally here. Unfortunately, 2 days before the wedding, you've scheduled another test. You are mad at yourself for doing it so close to the wedding, but you cannot change the date now, so you create the test. It's not as good as normal, but it will do. The next day, the students take the test. You aren't able to grade them until early next week, but you get them back as soon as possible. When you check your email in the morning, you find an email straight from the principal with the subject, Tommy's last English test. Ms. Smith is CC'd on it, along with Tommy's parents. The principal is asking you to please send the next test into him first, along with Tommy's version at least 2 days before, so he can approve it. How could you have overlooked it again? 2 weeks later, you have another test. You made sure to make the proper accommodations and turn it into the principal 2 days before. Tommy excels, and you make a point to speak with him after class and apologize. You also make sure to speak with the principal and Miss Smith. At parent-teacher conferences, Tommy's parents communicate with you that they were very ready to take legal action and will be if it happens again. You absolutely guarantee that it will not. Even though this scenario may sound a little exaggerated, it could very well happen to you. Life tends to happen, and as Butler students especially, we all like to be very involved. Letting IEP accommodations slip really cannot be an option while you are an educator. A parent at any time can take legal action against the teacher for this and will most likely win unless the circumstances are extreme. In conclusion, knowledge of the case Doe v. Withers will help us all remember to follow a student's IEP to the best of our ability. For one reason, most educators cannot afford to be paying $15,000 for a mistake. But the most important reason to follow the IEP is to help all of your students find success in your classroom. As educators, this should always be our #1 priority.